How are you different than your mother as a grandmother?
I'm different from Mama because Mama is a post-war baby. And that generation, they all grew up with the premise that children should be seen and not heard, and you don't ask questions at all. I mean, you just don't. So we weren't talked to about sex or anything like that. And most of them, for the most part, they were stay-at-home women. And the man was the man of the house. So the decisions were his. He made the decisions. He'll ask you your opinion, but the final word was him. I never did get that. I came out the gate being rebellious in terms of that marriage, and I did establish that when I was young. I was not going to be that type of wife. I wasn't going to be that type of grandmother. Now, where my mother and I are alike, my mother really raised my children because I was the single mom. She was a stay-at-home mom still, even when Dad was there. So when I was working, she was babysitting my kids. And then when Daddy died, and I took on the breadwinner for the house, she was watching my kids. And then when I retired, I wound up almost in that position because my daughter and her husband were having problems. My son and his wife were having problems. And I looked up, I was taking care of these grandchildren.
Grandmas hold a special place in our culture. We cherish their endless love. We admire their skills in the kitchen. We rely on them as babysitters. We hold them up as examples of honesty and moral purity. But did my grandmother and the women like her make such sacrifices out of choice or due to a lack of choice? To meet the expectations set for them by society to be a strong, eat last type of matriarch? Were they the result of wonderful character traits or the oppressive demands of American society, or both? For our grandmothers, what are the motivations and forces behind their seemingly superhuman abilities?
Hey y'all, it's Jordan Thierry here with Dream Chase Life. Today's episode of Grandma's Roses is highlights from my conversation interview with my Aunt Rena, who is hilarious, ferocious, and full of so much love. And one of the memories that I have of Aunt Rena was when she joined my mom to come visit me my freshman year during the parent weekend at college. And I was really not feeling their visit. I was like really trying to avoid kicking it with them. But my Aunt Rena was there to kind of comfort my mom and be company for her because I was trying to ditch them. But she also just made it really fun, and we all ended up having, I think, a good time. I'm not proud of how I was, but I was really just getting that first taste of independence. And she was there, and she called it out. But she also made sure my mom had a really great time, and she also cracked me up while she was there. So I hope you enjoyed this interview with Aunt Rena. We're going to break this up into 2 or 3 different episodes because the conversation was so valuable. In this episode, she's going to talk a little bit about growing up in the era of desegregation, and she's also going to talk about the effect of the Black Power movement on her life. So enjoy, and please share your thoughts and comments and below in the comment section. Thank you. Peace.
My name is Rena Annetta Jordan, formerly Rhymes. I have 4 children, and out of those 4 children, I have 11 grandchildren. 5 boys, 6 girls, and I am a great-grandmother of 5. 4 girls, 2 are twins and 1 boy.
Excellent. And can you tell us where you grew up and well, where you live now and how, how you came to live here?
Currently, I'm living in Las Vegas, Nevada. I came following my aunt, that I call aunt, Mary Edna Thierry, and her husband, Ali Thierry. They're from Galesburg. I had moved to Galesburg from Chicago. I'm originally from Chicago. And Mary really was like a mother, a sister, another mother. She and my mother grew up together. She babysat me, and our summers were spent in Galesburg. And I liked Galesburg so much that when I became of age, I moved down there eventually after my divorce. We all abandoned Englewood, to be honest. And the thing that's funny about it, we all left the neighborhood. Our parents moved out. But guess what? They all moved up the street. Englewood left Englewood per se. And then we all wound up in the same neighborhood, but up the street, as they call it, further south. And then we went to the suburbs. So we no longer cared about Englewood. We didn't go back to the neighborhood and look after the ones that were left. And the ones that were left had to struggle with the new people coming in. The new people coming in was a different environment. Their scruples were different from the way we were raised. So the properties went down because the kids moved away. Nobody came back to see about them. Businesses closed up, and it went into despair. They redistricted the neighborhood, so we got different nationalities coming back in. It always, see, the thing about it, we repeated ourselves, but we repeated it different. When my parents grew up, it was Jewish. It was Jewish families, black families. Everybody was comprised of black collar workers, things like that. And then when the Jewish community left and the whites moved out, we were still there. But a lot of them, they were prominent. There were doctors, like I said, postal workers, bus drivers, things like that, ministers. And once everybody started moving, the banks started closing because if the people are moving out, there's no revenue to put in the banks. So that's what really happened to Englewood. What was the ruling, Brown versus the Board of Education? That's the one where the Thurgood Marshall ruled on? Mm-hmm. Okay, they changed the district then. And what they did, they did desegregation, so to speak. And so my comfort zone was moved for me. The school that I was going to, Copernicus, I was forced to go to Earl School, which was, to me, away from where we were living. And we were sent to an all-white neighborhood that was racist. And we were subject to race riots then. And it was so bad that just imagine being a 7th and 8th grader and younger, all of us being forced to have a police escort and have these grown-ups throwing rocks and things at us, ambushing us. So it got so bad with the race riot that the principal, Mr. Tobin, had the police. We had a 15-minute curfew. We had to walk from school. They moved me to a school I hated, Earl School. And then I later went to Henderson School, which was even further out of my district than Copernicus was. And we had a 15-minute curfew to be escorted to the southeast corner of Ashland. 3:30 was the cutoff. And after that, the police left us. If you were caught on the wrong side of the street, say at 3:35, and you got ambushed, that was on you because you should have been there for the police escort. Now, the one thing that I can say, my mother was a stay-at-home mom, as was during that time, a lot of the mothers were stay-at-home moms. Now, because the dads were working. So the moms were escorting us to school and trying to shield us from the rocks and things that were being hurled at us. Now, that was one part of that life that I didn't like. And I think another reason why the residents of Englewood left was because of that ruling. Now, that ruling, you have to understand, that ruling was good for down south and schools like that. But up in Chicago, where we were, I didn't like it. I was young. I didn't like it. And when I think back, was that a good move for me? No. No, because it put me firsthand into something I never had to experience that I knew of. Even though the school that I went to, it was a lot of white teachers, same teachers to be exact that taught my parents. They were still there because at that time, the race wasn't an issue that your education was in jeopardy. When a child was out of school, you looked up, it was a white teacher at your door or the truant officer with that white teacher asking what's going on. So I didn't encounter that racial prejudice. Some of it was there, don't get me wrong, but it was blatant when they changed that district and I had to go to Earl. I never got called the names that I did until that point. And that gave me a whole new spin. Now, I did encounter some racial stuff at Copernicus, but I have always been raised to speak up, speak my mind, and the teachers identified right away. They didn't know if I was an only child. My mother dressed me nice, as this is what they said according to them. And but my parents made the mistake and told me to speak my mind. I always had to look my teachers in the eye. And I think that they thought that was brazen. The Black Power movement for me was it was power that I didn't think that black people could ever have. I didn't think that we could let our hair grow out natural and it would be accepted. I didn't think that we could go back to wearing the bones and the natural elements that came from what they called the motherland. And I just sucked that up. I enjoyed. I mean, I was wearing nothing on underneath and just a dashiki on, or I was making my stuff. My father made my first, I would say, it wasn't a dashiki, but it was an African outfit that he made off the one shoulder thing. I mean, it was gorgeous, and I modeled it in the show. But he thought I was just modeling it because he designed it. No, that gave me the power right there. The only thing that I did not do that I wanted to do is have my ears stretched with the bone. But the rest of the stuff, I was coming to the table, the dinner table all crazy with my militant stuff on. And, you know, we couldn't sit there at the table with no shoes on. I had to get up. You can't eat dinner at the table with no shoes on. Okay, I'll go to bed. She was my mother. My mother's sitting over there, okay. So she would come in the room with the typical glass of water and bread and butter. And they, Rena, why are you doing these things? I just felt that I had come alive. My hand was up like this all the time. I was wearing the 9 bracelets. Angela Davis, I went to her rallies. I mean, I was there. So that's what the Black Power movement was for me. After I discovered that I wasn't white, you hear me? Because I went through the flower power thing. I came to the table with flowers all, painted all on my face. I went through that. You know, peace stuff. I mean, it was rough. Headbands on. Then when I really discovered I wasn't white, Twiggy had come out. I had cut my hair off. Could you cut that for a minute?
That's okay. Keep going.
I mean, I had the bangs and Twiggy had the circles and stuff on her eyes. And I came to the table, my best friend, I couldn't get a perm to have my hair like that English cut. So she said, you know how to keep your hair tied down? Take 2 sanitary napkins, put them in a stocking, make sure the red line wasn't showing, tie it on, and then put a pair of panties on your head so that it wouldn't slip off for the night. And that's how you can lay your head down like Twiggy. Well, needless to say that I got sent from the table again, but I did that before I got to Black Power. Could you believe that? I mean, you know, I don't have to wear a bra anymore. I did that. I didn't know who I was during that time. But when the Black Power movement came in, I said, this is me. I'm not a flower power. I mean, I was peace on you, love, giving out flowers and stuff. Me and my girlfriend would go to the local flower shop and go to come to school and or go through the lunchroom, putting flowers and clover on everybody's desk. Come on, that's crazy.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Dream Chase Life. If you're digging the content, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can get all the latest videos in your feed. And please share the love, ideas, and suggestions in the comment section below. And hope to engage with you and share more content with you very soon. Peace.